Welcome to Love Talk. I'm Gregory Morgan, and thank you for joining me. You have the romantic relationships in your life. Maybe you've had one or two or several or none. And then you have the committed relationships in your life. Those are the ones that, regardless of how you feel, you may not feel romantic. You do what must be done because you have a commitment to that relationship. Even in the arena of romantic relationships, there are distinctions that are unrevealed to you and I, and it's my pleasure to be able to distinguish these things for you so that you have more power, more effectiveness in dealing with your relationships in your life. Being in the present moment, being not somewhere else, not on a device or a cell phone, like talking with people who you may never meet, not thinking about the future or the past, not being affected by things that might be or could be or you're afraid might happen, but just being there with what is actually happening in the present moment when you're with another human being, and ultimately at all times, especially when you're alone. To be present with yourself when you're alone and to have a personal relationship with yourself that is loving, supportive, caring, that you take care of yourself, and that means your body, that means your mental attitude, your mental state of mind. That means to take care of yourself psychologically. If you have fusion or a tangle of thoughts and emotions and feelings and fears and doubts and things like that that are affecting your ability to have clear, open, honest communication with the people in your life, to do your work, whatever your career or your job is, effectively. If it's affecting the relationships with other human beings, if it's affecting your finances, if it's affecting your spiritual connection with God or whatever you call that, if it is affecting all of that in a negative way, then you might have what we would call a psychological issue. If you are interacting with the world, if you are interacting with life itself, you will have moments where you don't know what the heck to think, and that's normal. So I want to take away any fear that you might have that, oh, my mind is broken, or because I have confusion and doubt, or I'm afraid, or I'm mentally blocked somewhere, that there's something wrong with me. I'd like to take that away. I'd like for you to let go of those ideas and try this one on. That's normal. Everybody that you have ever met has all of that same stuff going on, some more than others or different, but anybody that says they've never had any kind of psychological issue in their life is lying, and that's an issue. In fact, that may be at the basis of all of their other issues, because I've discovered that when you begin to tell the truth about yourself, at least to yourself, at least look in the mirror and say, you know what, buddy, you got an issue. You got a problem. You need to get some help. You need to do something about this. Most of the things that you have that you call issues, you already know what to do. You're just unwilling to do it. You've done everything that you know to do to handle it except the one thing that would actually handle. Now, I don't know what that thing is, but you do. In almost every case when I've gotten people to be honest with me, or I've told them the thing that I actually know would handle their situation, they don't want to do it. They'll do anything but that. And it's led me to believe that we actually know how to handle the things that are bothering us. We just don't want to do the difficult thing or make the tough choices or do the self-change that would be necessary to make it work. In other words, we say we're committed to something, but in fact, there's something else running our life. And what we're really committed to is that. Whether that something else is our personal comfort, staying inside our comfort zone is a big, big deal for most people. You'd say, well, why would I want to stay inside my comfort zone when I have this issue, whatever it is, that's torturing me and causing problems in my life and in my other people's lives? Why would I want to do that? Your subconscious mind is designed to protect you. And the first thing that it wants to protect you from is any kind of change. You see, change is upsetting. Change means that you have to readapt to something that you don't know. You have to try on something that you don't know, change the things that you do know for things that you don't know. Whether it be attitudes, people, environment, values, you're having to change known things for unknown things, and most people don't want to do that, even if the known thing is making them sick. And that known thing may be a person in your life, it may be a career that you hate, it may be toxic relationships in general. It may be a substance. It may be tobacco or alcohol or drugs or gambling or porno or any number of things that are, those last two things are actually processes that people get addicted to. They're addicted to them, but because there's a chemical element in them. The adrenaline behind gambling, the fear and adrenaline and anticipation is very, very addicting. And the same is true for cheating, sex. The sex is secondary. It's really not, when people are cheating on their relationship, the part they're addicted to is the adrenaline of doing something they ought not to be doing, the fear, the guilt. Those all have chemical peptides that bathe the brain that make you feel bad, and that bad feeling hides another feeling that's even worse. You prefer that bad feeling than the other bad feeling that you know is already there. That's why people do addictive behaviors that want to stop, because they don't want to have to deal with something they already know they need to deal with. So I'm going to go ahead and take this call. Hello, this is Gregory, and you're live on the air.
Hello, how are you?
Excellent. And you? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so happy to talk with you.
Thank you.
I have 4 questions.
Yes.
First, we have just 7 months that we came from Iran to USA.
Okay.
It's difficult to live here, or me and my husband, and we have a son.
Okay.
My husband might go back to Iran and work, and we will live separate.
You're saying that you've been here for 7 months and that your husband may go back to Iran to work and leave you here?
Yeah, and just for 6 months or 1 year. I think that's a good decision, because my husband said that whatever you say, if you say I go work here,
No, I don't think it's a good decision.
Both of us here, doctor.
I don't think it's a good decision. Do you love each other?
Yes, a lot.
Do you have children?
Yeah, I want some.
Absolutely not a good decision. Children need both parents. Children need a male and a female.
The job is important. My husband lost his job. He wants to go back and work here, and after 6 months or 1 year comes back.
He loves his job in Iran?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he gave that up.
If he came here, he lost the job.
Yeah, he gave it up.
Yeah.
And there's another thing that he gave up. He gave up his right to leave his child when he decided to have a child. That comes implicit with fatherhood. Now, maybe his father left him when he was a kid. I don't know. Did he?
No, but his father got another wife than his mother.
Yeah, so here's the thing. When parents separate and get remarried, they teach their children to do that. Did you know that something like 80% of children of divorced parents get divorces?
But
No, wait. I don't think you heard me.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, his father didn't divorce, just at the same time he had 2 wives. At the same time, his father had 2 wives.
He learned that from his dad. Guess what is very, very likely to happen in your marriage? I'm telling you that statistically, the son of a divorced man that had 2 wives, statistically, okay, this is not me saying so, I'm saying the numbers tell us this. There's an 85% chance he will get a divorce and or have an affair or a second wife. There's a very high chance of that. There would be a high tendency to do that, and I hope he's watching and hearing me.
To live together and stay here.
I'm saying that if your husband brings you to another country and goes back to where he's now a single man in that country, in a country in which it's okay to have another wife. My wife isn't here. My kid isn't here. I'm like single again.
But he's a very good man.
I didn't say he wasn't a good man. I'm telling you the environment is more powerful than the person many times. And I'm telling you that people who have divorced parents overwhelmingly tend to get divorces. There's a very, very strong indication that people whose parents have been divorced will likely be divorced also. I'm telling you that. Yeah. And you can look it up and prove it to yourself. But you called to ask me if you thought it was a good idea if your husband from divorced parents that had, the father had 2 wives, leaves you here in another country where, do you have an extraordinary, like really a lot of money?
No.
Yeah. Maybe if he left you here with a small fortune, I'd say, you might lose your husband, but at least you got the money. But I don't think he's leaving you with a child with a whole lot of money.
But the thing that he's getting depressed because of losing job, and I say that it's better to send him back to
No.
Seeing him depressed and angry and stuff.
No. He needs to deal with that. He needs to grow up and be a man and deal with it. He's a father now, and he has responsibilities that go beyond his personal feelings. Honor means doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel about it. Honor means you don't get to feel good all the time. Honor means you put the women and children first. If you're a man, the women and children come first. That's what a man does. A man takes care of his wife and his child no matter how he feels.
Yeah.
And that makes him feel good. Men have to do good to feel good. If the first thing on his list of concerns is how bad he feels, too bad. I'm telling you. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. It's too bad. I'm sorry he doesn't feel good. He should do something about that. But first, he has to make sure that his wife and child prosper and are doing well, that his son has a happy, successful, loving father. And that's his job, first job. His second job is making sure he has a happy, well taken care of, well loved, and well nourished wife, who will then, from her happiness and well-being, take care of his son. If he goes off and says, "Oh, I'm feeling depressed, I'm going to go," well, you might as well say goodbye, okay? Listen, do you know how many Iranian women that my wife and I have interacted with whose husbands have brought them to this or some other country, Canada, England, Germany, and then said, "I got to go back to Iran, I'll be back." Only to find out 3 years later, 5 years later, they've got kids, they've got another wife, or they just, they did never come back, or sometimes they come back, but they're very distant and they act strange and they always end up going back to Iran. I have seen this literally 1,000 times, okay?
Also, the opportunity for job is very good opportunity. I myself think that we shouldn't lose this opportunity.
What opportunity for a job? In Iran?
Yeah, good opportunity.
Okay, well, look,
working
it sounds to me, I don't know why you called me, because it sounds to me like you've made up your mind that that's a good idea, and you're trying to get somebody else to validate that or vote on that for you. And because I have told you exactly the opposite of what you wanted to hear, now it seems like no matter what I say to you, you keep telling me why that's such a good idea for him to go. Are you trying to get rid of him? Because that's about what's going to happen.
May I have another question? May I ask?
Well, I'm not sure I want to answer another question for you, because I don't think you ever got the first answer to the first question.
No, I got the first no.
What did you learn?
Answer.
What did you learn from that? What did you learn from what I just told you?
Yeah, the first job is taking care of child, then taking care of me, and this is the more important job than going there.
It's more important than making himself feel good. You need to get that concept. Men don't usually feel good. They make commitments, and then by fulfilling the commitment, that makes them feel good. For a man to feel good, he needs to do good, okay? He needs to do what is the good thing. Running away from his pain is a coward. There's no courage in that. He chose to come here. He chose to bring his wife here and his child here. That's a very big deal. That's a big decision. You don't make a decision like that and then change your mind because I don't feel good.
Because I like USA a lot. I like to come here a lot. From the beginning, he didn't like to come here.
Well, too bad. He chose to come here. Now he's here. He should stay here and work it out. He should find a way to work it out. There's hundreds of thousands of Iranians who have come here and made very good for themselves. What's his career?
We are both doctors. And
What?
my another question is that if I change my career here, because it's very difficult to be an MD doctor
You're
here
both
again.
doctors. Yes, I understand.
And yeah, I want to study a PA, physician assistant. I want to ask if it's a good decision or no. I try for.
Well, I don't give career advice too much unless if somebody says I have a career that I hate, my advice is get one that you love. But, choosing between being a doctor and something less than that after you've done all the work because it's easy. What I'm hearing from you is that you and your husband have done some great work. You worked real hard and become doctors. It must not be easy to be a doctor in Iran, right? They don't give those diplomas away, do they?
Yeah, actually, we are from Afghanistan.
It must be even more difficult, right?
Yeah.
And your English is very, very good, so you're a very educated woman, and your husband must be a very educated man.
Yeah, also the job is in Kabul, and he will work with the Minister of Health That's why I say that it's a good opportunity not to lose it.
Well, are you thinking of going back there yourself?
Yeah, that's why I say that. First he goes, if he likes here, I go back, because I also lost my job in Kabul.
Well, here's the thing. My recommendation is that families stay together. It's always going to be my recommendation unless one of you is doing something that's dangerous, illegal, immoral, or unethical, that's like something you could get arrested for, or that would be a danger to your health, that's unethical, that's cheating people. Unless one of you is doing something like that, I always say father and a mother need to stay with their children, because the children are watching and learning from you.
If we both of us go back to Kabul, how about our son? We are worried about his future. It's good.
I would be too.
All of us.
I wouldn't want to raise a kid in Kabul, regardless of whether I was Afghani or not.
Yeah, I'm Afghan.
Doesn't sound like a very good environment.
We have very good environment here, good life environment.
Yeah, okay. Isn't there like a lot of war and stuff going on around there?
No, the situation is very good now, and we have good job and working and good life. Just I'd like to come to USA, and my husband from the beginning he didn't like come here.
I got it. Well, listen, I hope that I've made a difference with you. The main thing that I would say is, as much as it is possible, stay together as a couple in as much as possible. And that means that both the mother and the father sometimes have to make sacrifices for the greater good. If you sacrifice the relationship with your son so that you can feel better, you have not served the son. And my point of view about having children is that the choice to have children, I'm assuming it wasn't an accident. I'm assuming that you intended to have a child.
Yeah.
So when an adult makes a decision to make another human being come into the world, that decision involves giving up some things and choosing some other things, right? All choices have consequences. When you choose one thing, there's like 1,000 other things that you choose not. If I choose one woman, that's every other woman in the entire world that I don't choose. If I choose a career, that's every other career in the whole world that I choose not to do. So you chose to have a child. That means you chose some other things, like I don't leave the child. Is your child ever going to starve to death?
No.
Now, how did you know that, right? You didn't hesitate 1 second. You said, no, that's never going to happen. The reason you can say, no, that's never going to happen is because you are there and you're going to make sure that's never going to happen. That's a choice you made, you see?
Yeah.
You made that choice. And that means that you chose somewhere in your subconscious mind, in your heart, in your soul, that you would take care of that kid and never, ever, ever let him go hungry.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a choice you made. Now I propose that you make the same choice about his father. My child will never, ever, ever have no father. My child will never, ever, ever have no mother. My child will never, ever, ever be in an unhappy family. My child will never, ever, ever be poor and have no money. In other words, make some choices in your life and then make sure those choices stay true. Just like you will make sure that your child will never be hungry, make those other choices and be clear about it. Yeah, so when you say maybe the father's going to go to another country where he has a better job, that's a good thing. That sounds intelligent, right? Sounds like maybe that's a good idea. However, I don't know if he'll ever come back. I don't know if I'll ever see him again. I don't know if he'll go have an affair with another woman over there. I don't know if he'll get married like his father did to a second woman. You don't really know that, do you?
No, I don't know.
Now, he could say, are you kidding? I would never do that. But I don't know. I'm not talking to him, right? But I am saying that I've seen this scenario a number of times where a man brings a woman over from another country to a different westernized type country and then goes back home and then the trouble begins.
Actually, my brothers encouraged him a lot to go back there and work. My brother they have high jobs there and they encourage him a lot. And may I ask another question?
Sure, go ahead.
Because I told you both of us were doctors here.
Yes.
But here, being a doctor is very difficult. If I change, for example, if I study physician assistant, PA.
Yes.
Good decision, or if I try for UCMLE, it gets 10 years to pass it or be a doctor here.
10 years? Really?
Passing residency and the exams, and finding residency also is very difficult. And for women, residency for women who have child is very difficult.
I can understand that.
Much more easier.
I think you should do, I'm going to tell you, I think that you personally, again, a child needs a father and a mother, but he especially needs a mother. Let's face it. A boy needs a dad. A boy has to have a masculine figure around on a daily basis. He needs to have that. Men communicate things to their sons in ways that a woman never could and doesn't even know that that's happened. Just the way his hands are, just the way his voice sounds, the way he walks, the way he picks his son up is all totally different than you. So even though if you raised him, you would have to become more masculine, you would have to dip into that part of you that's masculine. Now, I know it's there because you're a doctor, and a doctor, even if she's a woman, is always doing a masculine thing by intruding into somebody's life and helping them. That's kind of a masculine thing to do. I know that may sound confusing but mothers are being masculine when they take care. When you said my kid will never go empty, never go hungry, right?
Yeah.
That came from the mother nurturing part of you, but that particular part of you, of a woman, is the one that will fight a man and win, right?
Yeah.
To make sure that kid doesn't go hungry. That's very masculine. If he's gone, you will become more masculine and less feminine in order to play both roles for your son. However, you won't be a man. You'll just be a masculine woman. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And a masculine woman is not all very attractive to a masculine man. Would you say, just stand back and look, would you say that your husband is like a masculine man? Or, a lot of men have a feminine side and they're more feminine. Who's in charge in your house?
My husband.
So you'd say he's kind of the take charge guy, he's the one that makes the final decision and things like that?
No, just both of us together.
I know both of you together do, but then there's usually one that has the final say so.
It's me.
Yeah, it's you? Okay. It's like that in my house, too. I'm a masculine man, but my wife, I defer to her decision very often. If she decides something that I decide is distinctly wrong for me, I'll just say, you can do it if you want, but I won't. So I always decide finally for myself, but each one of us has our own decision-making power. In any event, the reason I'm saying all of that is because you said the physician assistant is an easier thing to get, and you could start getting paid sooner, it sounds like.
Yeah.
You can start getting paid sooner, which means that you would have more time to spend with your son.
Yes.
And that's the important part. See, I'm keeping in mind what's going to get that kid so he has a mother and a father that come home for dinner every night, right? Mm-hmm. What's that going to take? Because he needs that. If you want him to grow up and be a stable, well-balanced, successful young man that doesn't have issues, he needs to have a successful, happy father and mother.
So another question.
Yeah, a third question. What is it?
Yes, it's better to, we sometimes think that enough to have one child. Do you think it's a good decision that our son will not be alone then in the future, maybe?
Don't worry about that. There's plenty very happy, successful, single children that do just great. In fact, my thinking is, while I've seen lots of families where there's plenty of brothers and sisters and they're all happy that they have so many brothers and sisters, I've seen just as many single children who were glad they didn't have any brothers and sisters because they got all of the attention of their parents. As long as you don't spoil him and baby him and make him turn into a codependent little brat, do you know what I mean? A lot of times single children will have a tendency to think that they deserve to have the world handed to them. That's your job to make sure he doesn't grow up thinking that.
So it's not a problem if we just one child. You have one child.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think it's a bigger problem to have two children and neither one of them get the care they need.
Yeah. And also, how about the distance between two child? If it is 7 years, for example, if we wait for 3 years more and have another child, it's big distance, 7 years, or if
that depends on how old you are and when you plan on dying. I have a brother that's 7 years younger than me, and my mother died young, and so he was 12 years old. I was 18 or something. something, 18 or 19, and he was 11 or 12, and it really messed his head up a little bit, I think, because there was, now it had nothing to do with the fact that we were so far apart. I wasn't such a great big brother for him because I was so much older than him. I was already off doing things that, while he still needed to stay home with my mom, I was out being a teenager whenever he was still a little kid. So there was a huge difference in our size and in our brain capacity and things that we were interested in. I don't know. Is 7 years apart? I don't know. I think if my mother had lived longer and he got to be an adult before she died, maybe we would have had a better relationship.
And another question about my son, that he goes preschool, and these days he's not happy with preschool. It is better to send him by fourth year or keep it at home and I work with him English, play with him.
I don't know.
And
I don't know about the preschool. It may be a crummy preschool. It may be that your son is spoiled. It may be a lot of things. So I don't have enough information to answer that question.
yeah, the most problem is that he doesn't know English. Maybe he gets bored in the preschool.
Yeah.
That's why he doesn't like to go. But he
I don't know
have-
any kid that likes school. Do you know anybody that likes school? Do you know anybody that likes school? Boys.
Yeah, when you were
Mostly-
in Kabul, he liked the preschool.
Most boys don't like school.
He liked that school in Kabul a lot, but here
did?
he doesn't like to go, and he
Yeah.
tries that I don't want to go.
Yeah. Well, he has to go. If he's going to live in this country, he has to go and learn English.
Okay, because from kindergarten it is a necessary obligation to go. Preschool is not necessary.
I know, but who's going to teach him English and teach him to, interact and be social and have a normal life? How old is he?
4.5.
Nah, he's too young. Too young. I thought he was 5 or 6. I'm sorry. In that event, why don't you go ahead and take care of him if you can?
So I keep it at home and I don't force him to go.
4.5, his brain is just barely getting formed a little bit. He's starting to have a bit of a personality. The ages 1 to 4 are the most important part of anybody's life in terms of their development. And then the ages 4 to 7 is where he learns to interact with the world. And so it's important that he has social interaction. He finds out if he's strong or weak, if he's afraid or if he's a bully. He finds out if he's smarter than the others or if they're smarter than him. He learns about a sense of humor. He learns to play and interact. He learns to be physical and find out what is too much force and what's not enough. And that's why, playing games and things like that is important, Children learn a lot between the ages of 4 and 7 by playing with other children. That's when they start forming, you find out about yourself. Mm-hmm. Decisions get made. The bully comes up to you and you find out whether you're going to cry and run away or whether you're going to face up to him. A pretty girl says she likes you. You figure out, what do you do with that, right? All kinds of things happen that are very, very important. You can't supply that to him. Now, if you take him back to Afghanistan, he will learn how to do that in Afghanistan, and so he will be sort of pre-programmed to operate inside of that environment. If you want him to live in a Western environment and interact with an international group of people, then you need to put him in that environment because that's how he will learn to interact. That's what I got to say to you about that. But 4.5 is a bit young to be put in an environment where he doesn't speak the language and where he runs the risk of maybe being treated differently because he's from another country. Is that a problem? Okay, the line got disconnected. So, perspective and your point of view to address the underlying issues and transform those issues that had you making those bad decisions or those unwanted behaviors in the first place. See, something's running the show. Unconsciously, something is running your life, and the whole motivation behind this show, behind any of our work, is to wake you up. And yes, I believe that you are sleeping, and I feel qualified to say that given that I myself was sleeping, even though I thought I was awake for, half a century at least. I'm still in the process of continually reawakening, but to wake you up and make you aware of what is running your life. Earlier, I used a term default programming. Yeah, you and I come with a certain kind of default program, and that programming is basically designed to keep you alive in whatever way it can. And because of our large brain capacity, we have developed the ability to presuppose or to imagine things that aren't actually true. So we imagine things that aren't actually true, and then we react to these untrue, not happened things as if they were real. And sometimes we say these things happened in the past, and sometimes we say they might happen in the future. future, or sometimes we imagine or create that they must be happening right now without any actual proof that they are or that they ever did. And yet we're letting those programs run our life. And by saying that, I mean that they are fear-based, survival-based programming. The primitive brain that our modern brain is built upon. Some of the ancient cities like Rome and Paris and England and so forth, there are cities that, when they're doing city work, let's say to make a metro or something like that, or they're digging down to make the foundation for a modern building, they discover, oh my God, there's an entire city below this city. There's an area of the city that is below the city. In other words, they didn't tear it down, they just built on top of it in many cases. Our brain's built a lot like that. Primitive parts of our brain that are only concerned with keeping your heart beating and your lungs breathing and making sure that you stay a certain temperature, that you don't get too cold or too hot, and that you have constant flow of nutrients flowing through your body so that your brain and your lungs and your eyes stay alive. I mean, there's a million functions going on all the time right now that you're not even aware of that are completely primitive. They've been around since things were crawling on their bellies. As we developed a greater brain capacity, therefore the ability to have abstract thought, which is what I'm speaking of, the ability to abstract the essence of things and project them into the future and imagine that they might happen and therefore modulate our behavior so that we make sure they happen or avoid them. That whole capacity was built on top of a very primitive structure called just keep me alive, and no matter what, even if I have to kill somebody or something, just keep this thing alive, this body. That primitive brain structure is still there and it's still operating. It's what I call default programming. Just like every pony, when it's born, within minutes can stand up and walk. That's programmed. How does it know to do that? Nobody taught it to walk. Even if its mother is still laying down, it stands up and starts walking around. How does it know to do that? It's pre-programmed. There's many species, and I won't go through any more of them, that automatically know how to do things as soon as they are born. You and I know how to do things as soon as we're born, and that primitive programming is running in the background all the time. It never sleeps, it's always going on. Advance that forward into relationships. You have your relationship with your parents, again, designed to keep you alive. I smile, I say goo goo, I giggle, I do all these things, I look cute, and they will give me food. I cry or whatever, when they don't give me food, they give me food, right? So you learn certain responses. You also learn to read all of the signals of the 600 some odd muscles that are in your face that give your around your eyes, that give your facial expressions in such subtle and layered ways that only a human being can even understand. We have the ability to understand facial expressions long before we can talk, because our facial expressions is how we communicate with our parents from the very beginning, before words, before that part of our brain that has language develops. Why am I telling you all this? Is because I want to make you very aware that you have programs running in the background that are only designed for your survival, period. On top of that was built a capacity to have relationships with other human beings. Those relationships are built on survival. Therefore, when you like a group or another person, when you feel like them, we tend to like those who are like us. So when you like someone, a man, a woman, a group of people, a tribe, a family, it's because you are like them or you adapt to be like them. If you do not adapt to be like them, they won't like you. And so adapting to be like and liked by other people is a survival thing. It has nothing to do with love. It's about survival. It's about staying alive. It's about being a part of something so that you have access to food, clothing, shelter, protection. In other words, staying alive. I have a caller coming in. I'm going to go ahead and see if it's pertaining to this program. Hello, this is Gregory. You're live on the air.
I have a daughter. She has, because of mental illness, whatever, she is now 32. She is single. She has been living by herself for the past 5 years. She goes to school part-time.
Okay. So
And
what's
she
the
takes
mental issue that you mentioned?
ill.
You said the mental illness, but maybe what is the issue?
And they have diagnosed her with bipolar. And
Is there any of that in your family prior, you or your husband?
father, actually, my ex.
Yeah, your ex-husband?
Yes,
Was he bipolar?
yes, yeah.
From my understanding is that bipolar is a hereditary. I wouldn't call it a mental illness because it's physical. It's biological. Yeah, there's a chemical imbalance in the brain.
So it is on a level.
It's handleable, but it's awful when it's not handled.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
I'm not sure how much I should be involved in her life. In a way, I want to have her feel independent.
Yes.
On the other hand, I would like to be good mother and monitor her life.
Thank you for asking that. I think probably there are other people that may be in your situation that are a similar situation and would like to know that answer. So here's what I see. Once a person is an adult and has declared their desire or their will as an adult to live as an adult, which she said, I want to live independently of you. Yes?
Yes.
And have her own place. That's a special declaration. Anytime a child separates from a parent, that means, hey, I'm done being a child. I want to be an adult now, right?
Right.
So you have to honor that as you would honor any other adult that you know. In other words, you're done being her mother now. A mother to a child, hear me carefully and correctly, a mother to a child is a superior to an inferior. Mothers have capacity that children's do not. And so they are superior in every way, mentally, physically, emotionally superior. That doesn't mean they're a better person or any of that. But in terms of operating in the world, you're superior, right?
Right.
You can do things they can't do. There are emotional things that could happen to you that to you it's like, so what? To a child it would be devastating.
Yeah.
There's things that might make you cry, but to a child it would ruin them.
Yeah.
So you are superior in your capacity to deal with the world. The moment somebody says, okay, now I want to be an adult, like you, Mom, right? I want to be out on my own like every other adult. You have to respect that. Just like you would respect your next door neighbor, right? Assuming that your next door neighbor is an adult that doesn't need your help.
Yes.
Just like you would any other adult, you have to have a new relationship. You have to take off the mommy apron and put it aside, fold it up and put it away and say, I'm not the mommy anymore. I'm not the superior to the inferior, even though between you and me, we both know they'll never catch up with you, right? You're just 20 or 30 or 40 years ahead of them, so how could they? But you have to take off the mommy apron and be an adult with them and say, okay, adult to an adult, thank you for the opportunity to have been your mom. I have given you everything I know to give you. I know you're a good person. I know your heart is true. I know that you're very smart and capable, and I know that you will succeed. If you need anything from me, I'm here. Ask me. I will always be there for you no matter what, but I promise not to intrude into your life if you don't want me to.
So to what percentage would you say?
If you have a best friend that you call every day, your best friend might get tired of you calling them every day. Do you know what I mean? If you call your best friend every time, hey, I was thinking of you and I'm just calling to see what's up, and sharing your life with them and saying, how are you doing? That's one thing. If you're going, I was a little worried about you because, you're bipolar and everything. So, are you okay? That's casting your fears and doubts onto another adult.
Yeah.
Right? You wouldn't do that to your neighbor, would you? Or one of your friends. So don't do it to your child because they're not a child, they're an adult.
Okay.
Just be their friend. It's time for you. And a lot of parents think, well, now I have an adult child, my learning curve is over. No, yours is just beginning. Now you have to learn how to be a friend and a companion to an adult that used to be totally dependent on you. They used to need you for food, clothing, shelter, change your diaper and everything, and now they don't. That's hard for a woman, right? Yeah, well, that's part of your learning in life. It's part of being a parent is learning when to stop being a parent.
Yeah.
You got to stop being a parent, and that's really, really hard.
Yes.
It's harder than being a parent is to stop being a parent especially if your child has a problem or something that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
They're always going to have a problem. People have financial issues. There's bankruptcies, getting fired, getting divorced. There's all these things that people go through anyhow. Any adult does, right?
Yes.
That happens to everybody. Now, add to that there's a chemical imbalance that they have to watch out for and take care of. That's their job. That's their job. She has to watch out for that. Her doctor has to watch out for that, not you. You understand? You need to let her know that I'm there no matter what. I will always love you, and you can call me at any time, 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever. I will always be there. I'll give you my advice if you ask for it, but I won't call you up and give you my advice all the time because you're not a kid, you're an adult. Does that make sense?
Yes, it sure does.
Yeah, that's for you to learn, and she will love having you as her best friend in the world.
Okay.
You'll be the best friend in the world. If she stops taking her drugs, her meds, and she starts acting crazy and weird and stuff, that's her problem and her doctor's problem. You could ask her, do you need anything from me? Can I support you in some way? If she says no, it means no.
Okay.
If she says yes, say, what can I do?
Okay.
Okay? Thank you for asking that.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Just
you
so
bet.
very much. You
All
are
right.
great.
All right.
Give our best to your wife too. Okay.
Hodafez.
Okay. Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much.
Bye-bye.
I'm very worried about your time.
Thank you for joining me on Love Talk. This is Gregory Morgan. I'll see you next week.
قدم به قدم، از آشنایی تا عشقی ماندگار، توسط خانم دکتر آزیتا سایان. هر کجای رابطه که هستی، پیش از شروع، ابتدای راه، قبل از ازدواج و یا مزدوج و بچه دار، با شرکت در این سمینار خارق‌العاده عشقی ماندگار در زندگی خود خلق کنید.
اگه واقعاً بخواید که فکر بکنید که من مرحله به مرحله چجوری با یه کسی آشنا بشم و چجوری رابطه رو تشکیل بدم که تبدیل بشه به یه عشقی که ماندگار باشه توی زندگی من، حتما بهتون توصیه میکنم اوناییتون که واقعا براتون مهمه یاد بگیرید این مراحل آشنایی تا نگه داشتن یه رابطه. حالا همه میگن خب من نمیخوام ازدواج کنم، منم اصراری ندارم کسی نمیخواد ازدواج کنه، نکنیم، ولی لااقل یاد بگیریم یه رابطه سالم رو بتونیم نگهش داریم.
دوشنبه 25 نوامبر در هتل دابل تری بای هیلتون سانتا مونیکا. بلیط‌های خود را همین الان از وبسایت و یا اپلیکیشن امبریس گروت تهیه کنید و یا با شماره 310 460 2600 تماس بگیرید. در کارگاه‌های آموزشی بانوان به رهبری دکتر آزیتا سایان، خود واقعیتان و همچنین مردان را بشناسید و با استفاده از قدرت زنانه خود روابطی سالم و عاشقانه بسازید. ایروان ارمنستان 31 اکتبر تا 2 نوامبر، تورنتو 15 تا 17 نوامبر و همبورگ 28 فوریه تا اول مارچ. 310 460 2600 embracegrowth.com. یک مرد منحصر به فرد، مسلط، متمرکز، قابل اعتماد و رضایتمند باشید. کارگاه شرافت، عزت کلام و مهارت به رهبری دکتر آزیتا سایان. ایروان ارمنستان 15 تا 17 آگوست، تورنتو 20 تا 22 سپتامبر، همبورگ 18 تا 20 اکتبر و لس آنجلس 13 تا 15 مارچ. برای اطلاعات بیشتر با شماره 310 460 2600 تماس بگیرید. اپلیکیشن امبریس گروت با ساختن اکانت شخصی شما می توانید وارد پروفایل خود شده و تنظیمات آن را تغییر دهید. به تمامی رویدادها و محصولات دسترسی داشته باشید. با چند کلیک برای سمینارها و کارگاه‌ها ثبت نام کنید و یا وقت مشاوره خود را رزرو نمایید. اپلیکیشن امبریس گروت را امروز از اپ استور دانلود کنید و به خانواده جهانی امبریس گروت بپیوندید.
Embrace Growth has a new home online where you can easily register for workshops and events, order from the online store, and be part of the worldwide community of Embrace Growth graduates. You'll be able to see Dr. Rosita Sayan and Mr. Gregory Morgan in your favorite seminars. Visit us today at embracegrowth.com.
قدم به قدم از آشنایی تا عشقی ماندگار توسط خانم دکتر آزیتا سایان. هر کجای رابطه که هستی، پیش از شروع، ابتدای راه، قبل از ازدواج و یا مزدوج و بچه دار، با شرکت در این سمینار خارق‌العاده عشقی ماندگار در زندگی خود خلق کنید.
اگه واقعاً بخواید که فکر بکنید که من مرحله به مرحله چجوری با یه کسی آشنا بشم و چجوری رابطه رو تشکیل بدم که تبدیل بشه به یه عشقی که ماندگار باشه توی زندگی من، حتما بهتون توصیه میکنم اونایتون که واقعا براتون مهمه یاد بگیرید این مراحل آشنایی تا نگه داشتن یه رابطه. حالا همه میگن خب من نمیخوام ازدواج کنم، منم اصراری ندارم کسی نمیخواد ازدواج کنه، نکنیم، ولی لااقل یاد بگیریم یه رابطه سالم رو بتونیم نگهش داریم.
دوشنبه 25 نوامبر در هتل دابل تری بای هیلتون سانتا مونیکا. بلیط‌های خود را همین الان از وبسایت و یا اپلیکیشن امبریس گروت تهیه کنید و یا با شماره 310 460 2600 تماس بگیرید.